Bargaining for Advantage, Negotiation Strategies for Reasonable People by G. Richard Shell. Here is a list of important questions to ask when learning from the book Bargaining for Advantage, Negotiation Strategies for Reasonable People by G. Richard Shell. 1. What are the key principles and concepts introduced in the book to improve my negotiation skills? 2. How can I prepare effectively for a negotiation using the strategies outlined in the book? 3. What are the different negotiation styles and which one aligns best with my personality and goals? 4. How can I identify and leverage the interests and motivations of the other party in a negotiation? 5. What are the common mistakes or pitfalls to avoid during negotiations as highlighted in the book? 6. How can I effectively communicate and persuade during a negotiation to achieve my desired outcomes? 7. What are the strategies for managing conflicts and resolving deadlocks in negotiations, as discussed in the book? 8. How can I build rapport, trust, and long-term relationships with the other party for successful negotiations? 9. What are the techniques for closing the deal and finalizing agreements in a negotiation, as outlined in the book? 10. How can I stay composed and manage my emotions under pressure during negotiations, as emphasized in the book? 11. What are the best practices for continuous learning and practice to improve my negotiation skills over time? 12. How can I adapt the negotiation strategies and techniques from the book to different negotiation scenarios and contexts? 13. What are the ethical considerations and guidelines for negotiation as discussed in the book, and how can I apply them in my negotiations? These questions can help you reflect on and internalize the key lessons from the book, and apply them to your own negotiation situations for better outcomes. Keywords. 1. Negotiation, the process of communication and interaction between parties with the aim of reaching a mutually satisfactory agreement or resolution to a dispute. 2. Interests, the underlying needs, motivations, and desires of parties involved in a negotiation, which drive their behavior and decision-making. 3. Preparation, the process of gathering information, setting goals, and planning strategies and tactics prior to a negotiation to increase the likelihood of achieving a favorable outcome. 4. Communication, the exchange of information, ideas, and messages between parties during a negotiation, including verbal and nonverbal communication. 5. Persuasion, the use of techniques and strategies to influence the other party's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors in order to gain their acceptance or agreement. 6. Conflict management, the process of handling disagreements, disputes, or deadlocks that may arise during a negotiation, with the aim of finding a resolution that satisfies both parties. 7. Relationship building, the process of establishing trust, rapport, and long-term connections with the other party, which can enhance collaboration and cooperation in negotiations. 8. Styles, different approaches or ways of negotiating, such as competitive, assertive, collaborative, cooperative, compromising, finding middle ground, accommodating, yielding, and avoiding conflict. 9. Closing the deal, the final stage of a negotiation process, where parties reach an agreement on the terms and conditions of a deal and finalize the agreement. 10. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions and the emotions of others, which can impact negotiation dynamics and outcomes. 11. Ethics, the moral principles and values that guide decision-making and behavior in negotiations, including fairness, honesty, transparency, and respect for others. 12. Continuous learning, the ongoing process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and experience in negotiation, and applying feedback and reflection to improve negotiation skills over time. 13. Adaptation, the ability to adjust and tailor negotiation strategies and techniques to different negotiation contexts, such as the nature of the negotiation, the culture, and the personalities involved. Chapter title Summary 1. The hidden logic of successful negotiation introduces the concept of negotiation as a strategic process and highlights the importance of preparation, information gathering, and understanding interests. 2. Seeing ourselves as others see us discusses the role of perception and self-awareness in negotiation, including understanding one's own strengths and weaknesses and how others perceive them. 3. Finding the zone of possible agreement, ZOPA, explores the concept of the zone of possible agreement, ZOPA, which is the range of possible outcomes in a negotiation that can lead to mutually acceptable agreements. 4. The law of leverage discusses the various sources of leverage in negotiations, such as power, time, alternatives, and information, and how to effectively use them to gain an advantage. 5. Bargaining styles and strategies explores different bargaining styles and strategies, including competitive, collaborative, compromising, accommodating, and avoiding, and when to use them in different negotiation situations. 6. The ethics of negotiation discusses the ethical considerations in negotiation, including honesty, fairness, integrity, and the importance of maintaining a positive reputation in relationship with counterparts. 7. Managing the negotiation dance highlights the importance of managing the negotiation process, including managing communication, setting the agenda, controlling emotions, and adapting to changing circumstances. 8. Dealing with difficult people provides strategies for dealing with difficult people in negotiations, including aggressive, passive, and manipulative counterparts, and how to effectively respond to challenging behaviors. 9. Building long-term relationships emphasizes the importance of building and maintaining long-term relationships with counterparts, including building trust, rapport, and mutual respect for successful future negotiations. 10. Closing the deal discusses strategies for effectively closing the deal and finalizing agreements reached in the negotiation process, including managing concessions, clarifying terms, and documenting agreements. 11. Making wise agreements provides guidance on how to create agreements that are fair, durable, and in the best interest of both parties, including understanding the details, avoiding loopholes, and considering potential risks. 12. When others play rough discusses strategies for managing conflict and difficult situations in negotiations, including handling aggressive, deceptive, or unfair behaviors from counterparts while maintaining professionalism and composure. 13. The Road to Mastery provides advice on how to continuously improve negotiation skills, learn from past experiences, and adapt to different negotiation situations for ongoing success in negotiations. G. Richard Shell, the author of Bargaining for Advantage, Negotiation Strategies for Reasonable People, is a renowned expert in negotiation and conflict resolution. He is a professor of legal studies, business ethics, and management at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, where he teaches negotiation, leadership, and ethics. Shell has also served as the director of Wharton's renowned executive negotiation workshop and has trained executives, lawyers, and professionals in negotiation skills for over 30 years. In addition to his academic background, Shell has extensive practical experience in negotiation and conflict resolution. He has consulted with numerous organizations and has mediated disputes in various industries, including law, business, and government. He has also written several books and articles on negotiation, leadership, and decision-making, making him a respected authority in the field. Shell's expertise and background in negotiation, combined with his academic research and practical experience, lend credibility and authority to his insights and strategies presented in Bargaining for Advantage. Negotiation, the process of communication and interaction between parties with the aim of reaching a mutually satisfactory agreement or resolution to a dispute. Title: The Mobster's Negotiation Summary. In the bustling streets of New York City during the 1920s, the notorious mobster, Tony the Bulldog Russo, ruled the criminal underworld with an iron fist. He was known for his shrewd business sense and his strategic negotiation skills, which helped him expand his criminal empire. One day, a rival gang led by the cunning Salvatore the Snake Marino approached Tony with the proposition. They wanted to establish a truce and divide the territory between their gangs to avoid bloodshed and increase profits. Tony knew that negotiation was the key to achieving a favorable outcome. The negotiation took place in an abandoned warehouse, with Tony and Salvatore facing each other across a table. Tony was known for his tough exterior, but he remained composed and focused during the negotiation. He started by clarifying his interests and needs, emphasizing the importance of maintaining his territory and maximizing profits. Salvatore tried to lure Tony with promises of shared profits and cooperation, but Tony remained cautious. He countered with his own terms, highlighting the strengths of his gang and the potential risks of going against him. Salvatore realized that Tony was a skilled negotiator and would not easily back down. As the negotiation progressed, emotions ran high, and both parties exchanged heated arguments. Tony faced criticism and attacks from Salvatore, but he remained calm and collected, using persuasion techniques to defend his position. He also sought to understand Salvatore's interests and motivations to find common ground. After several hours of intense negotiation, Tony and Salvatore finally reached a mutually satisfactory agreement. They agreed to divide the territory and share profits, with clear terms and conditions to avoid misunderstandings in the future. Both parties left the negotiation table with a sense of accomplishment and respect for each other's negotiation skills. In the weeks that followed, Tony and Salvatore upheld their agreement, and their gangs operated harmoniously within their respective territories. The negotiation had not only prevented a potential turf war but also created a sense of mutual respect and understanding between the two gangs. As time went on, Tony's reputation as a skilled negotiator spread among the criminal circles, further enhancing his power and influence. He continued to utilize negotiation strategies to resolve disputes, establish alliances, and expand his criminal empire, cementing his position as a formidable force in the 1920s mobster world. In the end, Tony's mastery of negotiation proved to be a valuable asset in navigating the treacherous world of crime, where strategic communication and interaction were essential for survival and success. His ability to effectively negotiate helped him achieve his goals and solidify his position as a feared and respected mobster in the 1920s underworld. Interests: the underlying needs, motivations, and desires of parties involved in a negotiation, which drive their behavior and decision-making. Title: Underworld Interests Summary. In the gritty streets of Chicago during the 1920s, mobster Johnny the Blade Sullivan was known for his ruthless reputation as a cunning negotiator. He ruled the organized crime scene with an iron fist, always looking out for his own interests. One day, a rival gang led by the charismatic but cunning Frankie the Fox O'Hara approached Johnny with the proposition. They wanted to strike a deal to smuggle illegal liquor into the city during Prohibition, but the stakes were high, and negotiations were intense. Johnny and Frankie met in a smoky speakeasy, surrounded by their loyal henchmen. Both parties were determined to get the best deal for their respective interests. Johnny was after a bigger share of the profits, while Frankie wanted a larger territory for his gang. The negotiation began, with both sides fiercely advocating for their positions. Johnny was strategic in his approach, using his sharp wit and street smarts to outmaneuver Frankie. He was aware of Frankie's motivations and used them to his advantage. Frankie, on the other hand, was smooth-talking and charming, trying to win Johnny over with promises of loyalty and cooperation. However, Johnny saw through Frankie's facade and remained focused on his own interests. As the negotiation progressed, tensions ran high, and both parties engaged in a verbal tug-of-war. Johnny and Frankie dug deep into their past, bringing up old grudges and personal vendettas. The negotiation turned into a high-stakes game of wit and cunning. Amidst the negotiations, a complication arose when a rival gang attempted to sabotage the deal. Shots were fired, and chaos erupted in the speakeasy. Johnny and Frankie found themselves fighting side by side against a common enemy, forging an unexpected bond. In the aftermath of the shootout, with the rival gang defeated, Johnny and Frankie realized that they had a common goal: to protect their interests and survive in the cutthroat world of organized crime. They put their differences aside and resumed the negotiation with renewed determination. After hours of intense negotiation, Johnny and Frankie finally reached a mutually beneficial agreement. They agreed to share the profits and divide the territory, each getting what was most important to them. They shook hands, sealing the deal with a mutual understanding of each other's interests. As the years went by, Johnny and Frankie's gangs prospered, and their alliance remained strong. They built a lucrative bootlegging operation and established themselves as formidable forces in the Chicago underworld. In the end, Johnny and Frankie's mastery of understanding each other's interests and negotiating with shrewdness and determination had earned them success in the ruthless world of mobsters. They had learned that negotiation was not just about winning, but also about understanding the underlying motivations and desires of parties involved, and finding common ground to achieve their goals. Their story became legend in the annals of Chicago's mobster history, an example of how interests and negotiations shaped the destiny of the underworld during the roaring 1920s. Preparation: the process of gathering information, setting goals, and planning strategies and tactics prior to a negotiation to increase the likelihood of achieving a favorable outcome. Title: The Negotiator's Game Summary. In the midst of the Prohibition era in 1920s New York City, notorious mobster Vincent the Viper Rossi was known for his cunning and strategic negotiation skills. He had built a formidable criminal empire, but his latest deal was proving to be his most challenging yet. Vincent had received word of a rival gang's plan to expand their bootlegging operation into his territory. Determined to protect his interests, he knew he had to be prepared for the upcoming negotiation. He gathered his most trusted advisors, including his loyal right-hand man, Tony the Brain Russo, and they devised a meticulous plan. Vincent knew that preparation was key to success in any negotiation. He researched the rival gang's leader, Frank the Bulldog Thompson, and his motivations. He also gathered information on their operation, strengths, and weaknesses. He set clear goals for the negotiation, to maintain his territory and secure a favorable agreement that would benefit his organization. As the negotiation approached, tensions ran high. Vincent and his team met with Frank and his gang in a speakeasy in the heart of the city. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as both sides eyed each other warily. Knowing the stakes were high, Vincent led the negotiation with calculated precision, using his charm and intelligence to sway the conversation in his favor. He employed his knowledge of Frank's motivations and weaknesses to strategically present his offers and counteroffers. He remained calm and composed, never revealing his hand too soon. Frank, known for his aggressive nature, was caught off guard by Vincent's preparedness and strategic approach. He tried to intimidate Vincent with threats and bluster, but Vincent remained unfazed, sticking to his well-thought-out plan. As the negotiation progressed, Vincent and Frank's dialogue crackled with tension. They sparred with words, each trying to outwit the other. Tony provided crucial support, feeding Vincent with information and ideas that further strengthened their position. In the midst of the negotiation, Vincent's attention was caught by a beautiful singer named Maria, who worked in the speakeasy. She had caught his eye from the moment he walked in, and their eyes met across the room. Maria seemed to have a mysterious air about her, and Vincent found himself intrigued. However, Vincent knew he couldn't let his personal interests cloud his judgment in the negotiation. He remained focused, using his preparation and strategic skills to inch closer to his desired outcome. After hours of intense negotiation, Vincent and Frank finally reached an agreement that protected Vincent's territory and secured favorable terms for his organization. Vincent's thorough preparation and strategic approach had paid off, and he emerged victorious. As Vincent and his team left the speakeasy, he couldn't resist seeking out Maria. He approached her with a confident smile, and they struck up a conversation. Vincent was pleasantly surprised to find that Maria had a sharp mind and a keen understanding of the underworld. They shared a mutual respect for each other's intelligence and wit, and a romance blossomed between them. In the end, Vincent learned that preparation was not just about gathering information and planning strategies, but also about being adaptable and keeping a clear head in the heat of negotiation. His skills as a master negotiator had not only secured his interests in the criminal underworld but also led him to find love in the most unexpected of places. The negotiator's game had taught him that careful preparation and strategic negotiation were the keys to success in both business and matters of the heart in the ruthless world of 1920s mobsters. Communication, the exchange of information, ideas, and messages between parties during a negotiation, including verbal and nonverbal communication. Title: The Silent Exchange Summary. In the roaring 1920s, Chicago was a city bustling with life and crime. Mobsters ruled the streets, and negotiations were often settled with guns and knives. Jack the Ace Sullivan was a notorious mobster known for his strategic negotiations and swift actions. He was feared and respected in the underworld, and his word carried weight. One day, Jack received an invitation to a negotiation from a rival mobster, Vincent the Snake Rossi. Vincent was known for his cunning ways and shrewd communication skills. Jack knew that this negotiation could determine the balance of power in the city, and he needed to be prepared. Jack gathered his trusted associates, including his right-hand man, Tony the Shadow Johnson, and they planned their strategy. They knew that communication would be crucial in this negotiation, and every word and gesture would matter. As the negotiation began on a speakeasy in the heart of the city, Jack and Vincent faced each other across a dimly lit table. The tension was palpable as they exchanged pleasantries, their eyes locking in a silent exchange. Jack knew that Vincent was a master of nonverbal communication, and he needed to be on guard. Vincent started the negotiation with smooth words, his gestures calculated to convey confidence and authority. Jack responded in kind, his sharp mind analyzing every word and movement. They danced around each other, each trying to gain the upper hand. Tony, Jack's trusted advisor, whispered suggestions in Jack's ear, providing insights and ideas to strengthen their position. Jack remained composed, his poker face giving nothing away. He used his snappy and authentic dialogue to assert his demands, while Vincent countered with his own cunning arguments. The negotiation continued for hours, with Jack and Vincent using their communication skills to convey hidden meanings and gauge each other's intentions. They read each other's body language, searching for any signs of weakness or deception. It was a battle of wits, with each party trying to outsmart the other. As the negotiation progressed, Jack couldn't help but notice a beautiful woman named Evelyn, who worked in the speakeasy. She had caught his eye from the moment he walked in, and he found himself drawn to her. However, he knew that he couldn't let personal distractions interfere with the negotiation. In the final stages of the negotiation, Vincent made a bold move, trying to push Jack into a corner. But Jack remained composed, using his communication skills to counter Vincent's tactics. He made a calculated offer that took Vincent by surprise, and the tension in the room escalated. Vincent's nonverbal communication betrayed a flicker of doubt, and Jack seized the opportunity. He used his sharp wit and strategic acumen to drive home his advantage, and Vincent eventually conceded. Jack emerged victorious, securing a favorable outcome for his organization. As Jack and his team left the speakeasy, he couldn't resist approaching Evelyn. He struck up a conversation with her, and they found a connection. Despite the dangers of their world, they decided to pursue their feelings, and a romance blossomed between them. Jack learned that communication was not just about words, but also about the exchange of ideas, messages, and nonverbal cues. His mastery of communication had not only won him the negotiation but also led him to find love in the most unexpected of places. The silent exchange during the negotiation had taught him that sometimes, actions and gestures spoke louder than words in the treacherous world of 1920s mobsters. Persuasion, the use of techniques and strategies to influence the other party's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors in order to gain their acceptance or agreement. Title: The Art of Persuasion. Summary: In the bustling streets of New York City during the 1920s, mobsters ruled the underworld with iron fists and sharp minds. One such mobster was Johnny the Snake Malone, known for his charm and persuasive abilities. He was a master manipulator, using his wit and cunning to get what he wanted in the ruthless world of organized crime. Johnny's latest target was a rival mob boss, Tony the Hammer Russo. The two had been at odds for months, vying for control of the city's illegal gambling operations. Johnny knew that a direct confrontation would be risky, so he decided to use his powers of persuasion to gain the upper hand. He arranged a meeting with Tony in a dimly lit speakeasy, where negotiations were often held among the mobsters. Tony was known for his brute force and aggression, but Johnny was confident in his ability to outsmart him. As the negotiation began, Johnny used his snappy and authentic dialogue to present his proposal. He carefully crafted his words, using techniques of persuasion to influence Tony's attitudes and beliefs. He appealed to Tony's desire for profit, emphasizing the potential benefits of a collaboration between their organizations. Tony, however, was not easily swayed. He countered with his own arguments, trying to intimidate Johnny with his brute force. But Johnny remained composed, using his charm and charisma to counter Tony's aggression. He employed strategies such as framing, where he positioned his proposal in a way that appealed to Tony's self-interest. As the negotiation progressed, Johnny incorporated elements of romance, knowing that Tony had a weakness for beautiful women. He introduced a femme fatale named Lana, who was known for her seductive allure. Lana played her part perfectly, using her charms to further persuade Tony to consider Johnny's proposal. But not everything was as it seemed. Unbeknownst to Tony, Lana was secretly working for Johnny, playing both sides to further his agenda. She had her own motivations, seeking revenge against Tony for past grievances. Her betrayal added an unexpected twist to the negotiation, intensifying the tension and intrigue. As the negotiation reached its climax, Johnny pulled out his trump card. He revealed Lana's true allegiance, shocking Tony and putting him in a vulnerable position. Johnny used this opportunity to drive home his proposal, employing his persuasive techniques to the fullest. In the end, Tony succumbed to Johnny's persuasion. He agreed to the collaboration, realizing that it was in his best interest. The negotiation concluded with a handshake, sealing the deal. However, as Tony left the speakeasy, he vowed to seek revenge against Johnny and Lana for their betrayal. He knew that the world of organized crime was unforgiving, and the tension between the rival mob bosses was far from over. As Johnny celebrated his victory, he knew that his skills of persuasion had played a crucial role in his success. He understood that in the dangerous world of mobsters, sometimes the art of persuasion could be even more powerful than brute force. Conflict management, the process of handling disagreements, disputes, or deadlocks that may arise during a negotiation, with the aim of finding a resolution that satisfies both parties. Title: Shadows of Conflict. Summary: In the roaring 1920s, the streets of Chicago were a battleground for rival mobsters seeking control of the lucrative bootlegging trade during Prohibition. In the midst of the chaos, two mob bosses, Salvatore Sal Russo and Vincent Vinnie Martino, found themselves at odds over the control of a speakeasy in the heart of the city. Sal and Vinnie had been business partners and friends, but their differences in approach and vision had led to a bitter conflict. The situation escalated, and the once close friends were now on opposite sides of a fierce dispute. As tensions rose, they decided to meet in Sal's luxurious penthouse to resolve their conflict. The negotiation would be a test of their skills in conflict management, as they sought to find a resolution that would satisfy both parties. The setting was opulent, with dimly lit chandeliers casting shadows across the room. The air was tense as Sal and Vinnie sat at a lavish mahogany table, facing each other with steely gazes. The negotiation began, with snappy and authentic dialogue reflecting the era's culture and social dynamics. Sal presented his proposal, emphasizing his desire for a fair division of profits and control over the speakeasy. He appealed to their past friendship, urging Vinnie to reconsider their differences and find a way to resolve the conflict without bloodshed. Vinnie, however, was skeptical. He countered with his own arguments, expressing his concerns and grievances. The dispute was complex, with both sides holding firm to their positions, and it seemed like finding a resolution would be challenging. As the negotiation progressed, Sal and Vinnie delved into their motivations and backstories, revealing their inner conflicts and vulnerabilities. They realized that their dispute was not just about business, but also about personal pride and ego. Their shared history and bond added depth to the conflict, making it even more difficult to find a resolution. But amidst the tension, a glimmer of hope emerged. Sal and Vinnie remembered the good times they had shared, and the loyalty and trust they had once had for each other. They realized that the bitter dispute was not worth sacrificing their friendship and potentially escalating the violence in the already dangerous world of organized crime. With this realization, Sal and Vinnie put their conflict management skills to the test. They engaged in active listening, acknowledging each other's concerns and finding common ground. They explored creative solutions and brainstormed ideas that would benefit both parties. In the end, Sal and Vinny found a resolution that satisfied both of them. They agreed to a fair division of profits and joint control over the speakeasy, and they even toasted to their renewed friendship with a glass of whiskey. As they shook hands, the shadows of conflict lifted, and a sense of relief washed over them. They had managed to resolve their differences without bloodshed, and they had preserved their friendship in the process. As they parted ways, Sal and Vinny knew that the world of organized crime would continue to be ruthless and unforgiving. But they also realized that conflict management was a crucial skill in navigating the dangerous waters of the mobster world, and that sometimes finding common ground and preserving relationships was more valuable than winning a dispute. In the end, Sal and Vinny's story became a legend in the underworld of Chicago, a testament to the power of conflict management in a world where violence often reigns supreme. And the shadows of their past conflict served as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was still room for resolution and redemption. Relationship building, the process of establishing trust, rapport, and long-term connections with the other party, which can enhance collaboration and cooperation in negotiations. Title: Ties of Deceit. Summary: It was the height of the Prohibition era in New York City, and the streets were teeming with mobsters vying for control of the illegal liquor trade. Among them were two rival gangsters, Tony the Hammer Marconi and Jimmy the Snake Rossi, who had been at odds for years, each trying to outwit and outgun the other. One fateful night, Tony and Jimmy found themselves in a high-stakes negotiation at a speakeasy in the heart of the city. They had been forced into a reluctant alliance by a common enemy, but their past animosity was palpable as they sat across from each other at a dimly lit table. The negotiation began with snappy and authentic dialogue, reflecting the culture and social dynamics of the era. Tony and Jimmy were cautious, their guards up, as they navigated the delicate process of relationship building. They knew that establishing trust and rapport was crucial for any collaboration to succeed, even in the ruthless world of organized crime. As the negotiation progressed, Tony and Jimmy delved into their motivations and backstories, revealing glimpses of their complex characters. Tony was known for his hot temper and brute force, while Jimmy was cunning and shrewd, always looking for an angle to gain an advantage. They had different approaches to business and had clashed in the past, but they also recognized the need to put aside their differences for the sake of their common goal. Despite their initial animosity, Tony and Jimmy found themselves slowly building a fragile bond. They discovered shared interests and mutual respect, finding common ground in their love for their families and their desire for power and wealth. They realized that they needed each other to achieve their goals and that cooperation was more beneficial than constant conflict. As the negotiation continued, Tony and Jimmy faced challenges and obstacles. Betrayal lurked around every corner. As they navigated the treacherous waters of the mobster world, they had to be wary of double crosses and deceit, constantly questioning each other's motives and actions. However, amidst the danger and deceit, a tentative friendship began to form. Tony and Jimmy learned to rely on each other, to trust in each other's skills and expertise. They discovered that the reliance could lead them to untold riches and power, but only if they could maintain their newfound relationship. But just when it seemed like their negotiation had reached a successful resolution, a wrench was thrown into their plans. A rival gang, led by the ruthless Al Capone, threatened their newfound alliance and their dreams of domination in the illegal liquor trade. Tony and Jimmy faced a critical juncture in their relationship. They had to decide whether to stay true to their alliance or let their past animosity take over once again. They knew that their future success hinged on their ability to trust each other and work together, but old wounds were not easily forgotten. In a gripping climax, Tony and Jimmy confronted their rival head-on, using all their negotiation skills and street smarts to outwit their opponent. They fought side by side, relying on their newfound bond to overcome the challenges that stood in their way. In the end, their relationship-building efforts paid off. Tony and Jimmy emerged victorious, having solidified their alliance and achieved their common goal. They had overcome their differences and forged a bond that went beyond just business. They realized that trust, rapport, and long-term connections were invaluable in the world of mobsters, where loyalty was often fleeting. As they celebrated their success, Tony and Jimmy toasted to their newfound friendship, a bond born out of negotiation and built on trust. They knew that the mobster world would continue to be ruthless and unforgiving, but they also understood that relationship building was a crucial skill. Styles, different approaches or ways of negotiating, such as competitive, assertive, collaborative, cooperative, compromising, finding middle ground, accommodating, yielding, and avoiding conflict. Title: City of Shadows. Summary: In the bustling streets of Chicago during the 1920s, where speakeasies thrived and mobsters ruled, a deadly game of negotiation unfolded among the various crime families vying for power and control. Among them was Johnny the Shadow Malone, a notorious mobster known for his cunning and ruthless style of negotiation. Johnny was a master negotiator, employing different styles depending on the situation. He was assertive and competitive when it came to defending his territory and protecting his interests, but also cooperative and collaborative when it came to forming alliances and expanding his influence. He knew that negotiation was not just about brute force, but also about finesse and strategy. One night, Johnny found himself in a precarious situation as he sat down with rival mobster, Vincent the Viper Rossi, at a hidden speakeasy in the heart of the city. The tension was palpable as they faced each other across a dimly lit table, both knowing the stakes were high. Vincent was known for his uncompromising and aggressive style of negotiation, always seeking to assert his dominance and get his way. He was not one to back down easily, and his reputation preceded him. However, Johnny was not one to be intimidated, and he was determined to find a way to outwit his rival. The negotiation started with snappy and authentic dialogue, reflecting the culture and social dynamics of the era. Johnny and Vincent sparred verbally, each trying to gain an advantage over the other. They used their negotiation styles strategically, with Johnny adopting a more collaborative and compromising approach, while Vincent remained assertive and competitive. As the negotiation progressed, Johnny and Vincent delved into their motivations and backstories, revealing glimpses of their complex characters. Johnny had risen through the ranks of the mobster world with his strategic mind and calculated moves, while Vincent had built his reputation on fear and brutality. They were two sides of the same coin, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Amidst the negotiation, Johnny found himself drawn to Vincent's sister, Isabella, who was present at the speakeasy. Isabella was different from the other women Johnny had encountered in his world, and he was captivated by her beauty and intelligence. Their budding romance added a layer of complexity to the negotiation, as Johnny had to navigate his feelings for Isabella while dealing with her brother, Vincent. As the negotiation continued, Johnny and Vincent faced challenges and obstacles. They had to navigate the treacherous waters of the mobster world, with other crime families vying for power and law enforcement breathing down their necks. They had to be strategic in their moves, using their negotiation styles to their advantage. Betrayal also lurked around every corner, as Johnny and Vincent had to be wary of double crosses and deceit. They had to constantly question each other's motives and actions, unsure of who they could truly trust. The negotiation became a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with both sides trying to outwit the other. In a gripping climax, Johnny and Vincent faced off in a violent showdown, using all their negotiation skills and street smarts to gain the upper hand. It was a battle of wits, as they employed different styles of negotiation to outmaneuver each other. In the end, Johnny's collaborative and compromising approach paid off. He formed alliances with other crime families, leveraging his relationships and strategic moves to outwit Vincent. Through his cunning negotiation skills, Johnny emerged victorious, gaining control of the illegal liquor trade in Chicago. However, the victory came at a high price. Johnny had to make sacrifices along the way, including his budding romance with Isabella, who chose to distance herself from the dangerous world of mobsters. Closing the deal, the final stage of a negotiation process, where parties reach an agreement on the terms and conditions of a deal and finalize the agreement. Title: City of Shadows Summary. In the gritty streets of New York City during the roaring 1920s, where corruption was rampant and organized crime reigned supreme, a high-stakes negotiation unfolded among the city's most powerful mobsters. In this world of speakeasies, illegal gambling dens, and bootleg liquor, closing the deal was the ultimate test of skill and cunning. Enter Jack the Fixer Sullivan, a suave and ruthless mobster known for his silver tongue and keen business acumen. Jack was a master negotiator, adept at using different styles to his advantage. He could be assertive and competitive when needed, but also knew when to be collaborative and compromising to seal the deal. As the story unfolds, Jack finds himself embroiled in a complex negotiation with his longtime rival, Tony the Butcher Moretti, over control of the city's lucrative underground gambling circuit. The tension between them is palpable as they sit down in a smoke-filled room, flanked by their loyal lieutenants. The negotiation begins with snappy and authentic dialogue, reflecting the culture and social dynamics of the era. Jack and Tony spar verbally, each trying to gain the upper hand. They use their negotiation styles strategically, with Jack employing a mix of assertiveness and collaboration, while Tony remains aggressive and uncompromising. As the negotiation progresses, the stakes get higher, and the tension escalates. Jack and Tony delve into their motivations and backstories, revealing their complex characters. Jack is driven by a desire to expand his empire and secure his position as the top mobster in the city. Tony, on the other hand, is fueled by a thirst for revenge, seeking to settle old scores with Jack. Amidst the negotiation, Jack is also drawn to Isabella, a beautiful lounge singer at one of his speakeasies. Isabella is caught in the crossfire between Jack and Tony, adding a layer of romance and betrayal to the plot. Jack must navigate his feelings for Isabella while keeping her safe from the dangers of his world, further complicating the negotiation process. As the negotiation reaches its final stage, Jack and Tony must find common ground and close the deal. They negotiate over terms and conditions, haggling over shares of profits, territories, and other crucial details. It's a high-stakes game of wit and strategy, with both sides trying to outmaneuver each other. However, just when it seems like an agreement is within reach, a shocking betrayal rocks the negotiation. Loyalties are tested, and alliances crumble. Jack must use all his negotiation skills to salvage the deal and protect those he cares about, including Isabella. In a thrilling climax, Jack and Tony face off in a violent showdown, using all their negotiation skills and street smarts to gain the upper hand. The tension is palpable as they negotiate with their lives on the line. In the end, Jack's strategic approach and ability to read the situation pays off, and he manages to close the deal on his terms. The story concludes with a bittersweet ending, as Jack reflects on the sacrifices he had to make to succeed in the ruthless world of organized crime. He has secured his position as the top mobster in the city, but at a great personal cost. He walks away from the negotiation with mixed emotions, knowing that the shadows of his past will always haunt him. In City of Shadows, the final stage of the negotiation is not just about reaching an agreement on the terms and conditions of a deal, but also about navigating the complexities of relationships, loyalties, and the darker side of human nature. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions and the emotions of others, which can impact negotiation dynamics and outcomes. Title: The Underworld's Negotiator Summary. In the gritty streets of Chicago during the Prohibition era of the 1920s, where organized crime syndicates ruled with an iron fist, a master negotiator emerged as a key player in the city's illicit dealings. Nick the Fox O'Sullivan was known for his uncanny emotional intelligence, a skill that helped him navigate the dangerous world of mobsters and bootlegging, where one wrong move could be fatal. Nick had risen through the ranks of the underworld with his ability to read people and situations, understanding the intricacies of human emotions and using them to his advantage. His keen perception and self-awareness made him a formidable negotiator, able to manage his own emotions and manipulate those of others to achieve his goals. As the story unfolds, Nick finds himself embroiled in a high-stakes negotiation between two rival crime families vying for control of the city's lucrative speakeasy circuit. With tensions running high and violence lurking around every corner, Nick must use his emotional intelligence to navigate the treacherous waters of the negotiation process. In the midst of the negotiation, Nick is also drawn to Lena, a captivating and mysterious woman who has her own secrets and motivations. Their budding romance adds a layer of complexity to the story, as Nick must balance his feelings for Lena with his loyalty to his crime family and his own survival instincts. The negotiation scenes are filled with snappy and authentic dialogue, reflecting the culture and social dynamics of the era. Nick uses his emotional intelligence to gauge the emotions of his counterparts, strategically managing his own responses to influence the negotiation dynamics and outcomes. He knows when to be assertive and when to be empathetic, when to hold back and when to push forward. As the negotiation progresses, Nick uncovers a web of deceit and betrayal. Realizing that not everything is as it seems, he must use his emotional intelligence to navigate the complex relationships and loyalties, making tough decisions to protect himself and those he cares about. In the final stage of the negotiation, Nick faces his toughest challenge yet. With his keen understanding of human emotions, he unveils the true motivations and intentions of the other parties, using his emotional intelligence to outmaneuver them and secure a deal that benefits him the most. It's a thrilling and intense showdown, where emotions run high and the stakes are at their peak. In the end, Nick closes the deal on his own terms, using his emotional intelligence to gain the upper hand. But the victory comes at a great personal cost, as he must confront his own demons and face the consequences of his actions. The story concludes with a poignant realization of the toll that a life in the underworld has taken on Nick, and the sacrifices he has made along the way. The Underworld's Negotiator is a compelling tale of a master negotiator who uses his emotional intelligence to navigate the dangerous world of organized crime during the Prohibition era. The vivid setting of 1920s Chicago, the authentic dialogue, and the interplay of emotions and motivations create a captivating story that transports readers back in time to a world where negotiation skills were a matter of life and death. Ethics. The moral principles and values that guide decision-making and behavior in negotiations, including fairness, honesty, transparency, and respect for others. Title: Dark Deals and Double Crosses Summary. In the roaring 1920s of New York City, where speakeasies thrived and organized crime reigned supreme, a tale of intrigue, power, and corruption unfolds. In Dark Deals and Double Crosses, the lines between right and wrong, loyalty and betrayal, blur as characters grapple with their own ethical dilemmas in the midst of cutthroat negotiations. At the heart of this story is Eddie Malone, a young and ambitious mobster who has risen through the ranks of the Irish-American gang led by the notorious O'Sullivan family. Eddie is known for his sharp wit, quick thinking, and cunning negotiation skills, which he honed through years of navigating the treacherous underworld of Prohibition-era New York. As Eddie finds himself embroiled in a high-stakes negotiation between rival crime families, he is faced with a moral dilemma that challenges his ethical principles. The negotiation involves a valuable territory dispute, and the stakes are higher than ever. Eddie must navigate a delicate balance between maintaining his loyalty to his own gang and making decisions that align with his own moral compass. Along the way, Eddie encounters a cast of complex characters, each with their own motivations and backstories. There's Rosie, the sultry lounge singer at the speakeasy who catches Eddie's eye, and whose secrets could jeopardize his plans. There's also Tony, the ruthless enforcer for the rival gang, whose methods test Eddie's own sense of fairness and justice. As the negotiation progresses, Eddie must navigate a web of deception, betrayal, and violence. Dialogue crackles with snappy and authentic banter, capturing the vernacular of the time period and the gritty world of organized crime. The setting of 1920s New York City comes alive through vivid descriptions, transporting readers back in time to the speakeasies, back alleys, and smoke-filled rooms where deals are made and broken. As Eddie delves deeper into the negotiation, he grapples with his own ethical principles. He faces tough decisions that challenge his values of fairness, honesty, transparency, and respect for others. He must weigh the consequences of his actions and balance his own self-interest with the impact on others, including his friends, allies, and enemies. In the climax of the story, Eddie confronts a moral crossroads that forces him to make a fateful decision. The consequences of his choice reverberate through the negotiation and the world of organized crime, leading to a dramatic finale filled with twists and turns. Dark Deals and Double Crosses is a riveting tale that explores the complexities of ethics in the high-stakes world of 1920s mobsters. The richly drawn characters, authentic dialogue, and vivid setting combine to create a compelling narrative that delves into the moral dilemmas faced by those navigating the murky waters of negotiations in a world where loyalty and betrayal are constant companions. Continuous learning, the ongoing process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and experience in negotiation, and applying feedback and reflection to improve negotiation skills over time. Title: Shadows of Deception. Summary: In the gritty streets of Chicago during the Prohibition era of the 1920s, a tale of mobsters and negotiations unfolds in Shadows of Deception. In this fast-paced novel, continuous learning plays a key role as characters navigate the treacherous world of organized crime, honing their negotiation skills and adapting to the ever-changing landscape of power and betrayal. At the heart of this story is Michael O'Sullivan, a young and ambitious member of the Italian-American Mafia, who has risen through the ranks of the notorious Capelli family. Michael is known for his shrewdness, resourcefulness, and keen intellect, which he continuously hones through relentless learning from his experiences in the criminal underworld. As Michael rises in the ranks, he becomes embroiled in a dangerous negotiation between rival crime families over the control of the city's lucrative speakeasy business. The stakes are high, and Michael must navigate a complex web of alliances, betrayals, and shifting loyalties as he strives to protect his family and maintain his status. Along the way, Michael encounters a diverse cast of characters, each with their own motivations and backstories. There's Angela, the seductive femme fatale who catches Michael's eye and challenges his perceptions of loyalty and trust. There's also Tony, the cunning rival negotiator from the Irish-American gang, whose ruthless tactics force Michael to continually adapt and evolve his negotiation strategies. As Michael engages in intense negotiations, dialogue crackles with snappy and authentic banter, capturing the language and slang of the time period. The setting of 1920s Chicago comes alive through vivid descriptions of speakeasies, back alleys, and smoky rooms, transporting readers to a world where corruption and deception lurk in every shadow. Throughout the story, Michael's continuous learning is evident as he adapts his negotiation approach, learns from his mistakes, and applies feedback and reflection to improve his skills. He grapples with ethical dilemmas, balancing his loyalty to his family with his own sense of fairness and morality. He learns to read people, anticipate their moves, and use their weaknesses to his advantage. As the negotiations escalate into a deadly game of cat and mouse, Michael must rely on his wit, intuition, and continuous learning to navigate the dangerous waters of organized crime. The tension builds to a gripping climax, where Michael's negotiation skills and ethical principles are put to the ultimate test. Shadows of Deception is a captivating novel that delves into the complexities of negotiations in the world of 1920s mobsters. The richly developed characters, authentic dialogue, vibrant setting, and themes of continuous learning make for a compelling read that keeps readers on the edge of their seats, as they follow Michael's journey through the shadows of deception in the underworld of organized crime. Adaptation: the ability to adjust and tailor negotiation strategies and techniques to different negotiation contexts, such as the nature of the negotiation, the culture, and the personalities involved. Title: The Prohibition Pawn. Summary: In the smoky speakeasies and dark alleys of New York City during the height of Prohibition in the 1920s, A gripping tale of mobsters, negotiations, and adaptation unfolds in The Prohibition Pawns. Written by renowned authors Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler, this novel weaves together the complexities of the era's culture, politics, and social dynamics with vivid descriptions of the setting, snappy dialogue, and compelling characters. At the center of the story is Charlie Sullivan, a street-savvy bootlegger with a sharp wit and a quick temper. Charlie has made a name for himself in the illegal liquor trade, adapting his negotiation strategies and techniques to the ever-changing landscape of the Prohibition era. He understands the importance of adaptation in negotiations and uses it to his advantage, tailoring his approach based on the nature of the negotiation, the personalities involved, and the cultural nuances at play. When Charlie finds himself caught in a deadly game of power and betrayal between two rival mob families, he must use all of his negotiation skills and powers of adaptation to survive. Along the way, he encounters a cast of complex characters, each with their own unique motivations and backstories. There's Frankie, his loyal right-hand man, who has a knack for getting into trouble but always has Charlie's back. There's also Veronica, a sultry nightclub singer with a mysterious past, whose alliances and loyalties remain uncertain. As Charlie navigates the dangerous world of organized crime, the dialogue crackles with snappy and authentic banter, capturing the language and slang of the time period. The setting of 1920s New York City comes alive through vivid descriptions of speakeasies, gambling dens, and backroom deals, transporting readers to a time of prohibition, where corruption and violence are rampant. Amidst the chaos, Charlie also finds himself entangled in a complicated romance with Veronica, adding an element of romance and intrigue to the plot. However, as loyalties shift and betrayals mount, Charlie must grapple with the ethical dilemmas of trust and loyalty in a world where nothing is as it seems. As the negotiations escalate into a deadly game of chess, Charlie's ability to adapt becomes crucial to his survival. He must outwit his opponents, anticipate their moves, and navigate the treacherous waters of mob politics. Along the way, he must confront his own past and make difficult choices that will shape the outcome of the negotiations and determine his fate. The Prohibition Pawns is a riveting mobster novel that showcases the author's deep understanding of the era's culture, politics, and social dynamics. The well-developed characters, snappy dialogue, vivid setting, and themes of adaptation make for a compelling read that keeps readers hooked until the final page, as they follow Charlie's journey through the dangerous world of Prohibition-era organized crime. How can adaptation be applied in different negotiation contexts, such as considering the nature of the negotiation, the culture, and the personalities involved? Title: Prohibition Nights. It was a moonless night in Chicago, 1925. The city was buzzing with illicit activities as the Prohibition era was in full swing. Our protagonist, Frankie the Fixer Malone, was a seasoned negotiator for one of the most notorious mob families in the city. He had a reputation for getting things done, no matter the cost. One night, he received a call from his boss, Don Vincenzo, who had an urgent request. Nature of the negotiation: Don Vincenzo wanted to strike a deal with a rival mob family to expand their bootlegging operations. Frankie knew that this negotiation would be high stakes and required careful consideration. He gathered his team and devised the plan. Culture: the rival mob family, led by Don Russo, had different negotiation tactics compared to Don Vincenzo's family. They were known for their aggressive and confrontational style. Frankie understood the cultural nuances and knew that adapting to their approach was necessary to reach a favorable agreement. Personalities involved: Frankie was familiar with Don Russo's hot-headed personality and knew that dealing with him required a different approach. He decided to send his trusted associate, Eddie, who had a more diplomatic and strategic demeanor, to negotiate on their behalf. Frankie knew that Eddie's adaptability would be key in engaging with Don Russo. The negotiation took place in a speakeasy in the heart of Chicago. The tension was palpable as Frankie's team and Don Russo's men faced off. Eddie led the negotiation, employing a common calculated approach. He acknowledged Don Russo's concerns and interests, while also firmly advocating for his own family's needs. As the negotiation progressed, Frankie observed the dynamics closely and made quick adjustments to their strategy. He used his keen intuition to gauge the changing atmosphere and adapted their tactics accordingly. He utilized his extensive knowledge of the era's culture, politics, and social dynamics to maneuver through the negotiation with finesse. With snappy and authentic dialogue, the negotiation went back and forth, with moments of romance, betrayal, and violence adding depth and tension to the plot. It was a game of wits, and Frankie's team used their negotiation skills to the fullest. After hours of intense negotiations, A deal was struck. Both families agreed to a truce and a joint venture to expand their bootlegging operations. Frankie and his team successfully navigated the negotiation. Considering the nature of the negotiation, the culture, and the personalities involved, the story ended with Frankie and Betty celebrating their victory. But also knowing that the world of mobsters was always unpredictable, they knew that adaptation was an essential skill in their line of work, and they were ready for the next challenge that would come their way. In Prohibition Nights, we showcased how adaptation in different negotiation contexts was crucial for the success of the mobsters in the 1920s. It demonstrated the complexity of negotiations during that era and how skilled negotiators needed to consider the nature of the negotiation, the culture, and the personalities involved to achieve their objectives in a compelling and engaging story. What are some effective negotiation strategies and techniques for reasonable people to achieve advantageous outcomes? Title: Shadows of Deceit. The 1920s in New York City was a hotbed of mobster activities. We delved into the world of negotiations and double crosses to create a compelling story in Shadows of Deceit. Our protagonist, Vincent "Vinny" Marino, was a young and ambitious mobster looking to make a name for himself. He was known for his reasonable and level-headed approach, which made him stand out in the cutthroat world of organized crime. Vinny had learned the art of negotiation through years of experience and was known for his effective strategies and techniques. As Vinny rose in the ranks of his crime family, he found himself in various negotiations with rival mobsters, corrupt officials, and business partners. He had a deep understanding of the era's culture, politics, and social dynamics, which he used to his advantage. One day, Vinny received a proposal from a rival mob family, the Morettas, led by Don Salvatore. They wanted to form an alliance to expand their territories and profits. Vinny knew that negotiating with the Morettas would require careful planning and strategy. Effective negotiation strategy 1. Building rapport. Vinny knew that establishing a rapport with Don Salvatore was crucial. He invited him to a neutral location, a speakeasy owned by a mutual acquaintance. Vinny knew that setting the right atmosphere and showing respect would create a conducive environment for negotiation. Effective negotiation strategy 2. Active listening. Vinny listened attentively to Don Salvatore's proposals, taking notes and clarifying any misunderstandings. He made sure to understand their motivations and needs, and he shared his own in return. He used his excellent communication skills to establish common ground. Effective negotiation technique 1. Win-win approach. Vinny approached the negotiation with the win-win mindset. He focused on finding mutually beneficial solutions that would benefit both families. He proposed a joint venture that would allow both families to expand their operations without stepping on each other's toes. Effective negotiation technique 2. Keeping emotions in check. Vinny knew that emotions could cloud judgment and derail negotiations. He remained calm and composed. Even when faced with tough demands or threats, he controlled his emotions and kept the negotiations professional and respectful. As the negotiation progressed, Vinny employed snappy and authentic dialogue, capturing the essence of the time period. The setting was vividly described, transporting readers back in time to the gritty streets of New York City during the Prohibition era. However, Vinny soon realized that Don Salvatore was not as reasonable as he had thought. He suspected that the Morettas were planning to betray him and take over his family's territories. Vinny had to act fast to protect his family's interests. Effective negotiation strategy 3. Flexibility. Vinny quickly adapted his strategy. Using his keen intuition and street smarts, he shifted gears and employed a more assertive approach, pushing back on the Morettas' demands and showing them that he would not be taken advantage of. Effective negotiation technique 3. Assertiveness. Vinny assertively communicated his boundaries and made it clear that he would not tolerate any betrayal. He used his negotiation skills to counter the Morettas' deceptive tactics and to protect his family's interests. Incorporating elements of romance, betrayal, and violence, the story took a dramatic turn as Vinny uncovered the Morettas' true intentions. He outmaneuvered them, using his negotiation skills to expose their deceit and gain the upper hand. In the end, Vinny achieved an advantageous outcome for his family, thwarting the Morettas' plans and strengthening his own position. How can feedback and reflection be utilized to improve negotiation skills over time and achieve better results in bargaining situations? Title: Shadows of Negotiation. The roaring 1920s in Chicago were infamous for speakeasies, jazz music, and organized crime. My protagonist, Joey Sullivan, was a young and ambitious mobster looking to make his mark in the city. He had learned the art of negotiation through years of experience and was known for his shrewd and cunning approach. Joey was part of the infamous O'Connell crime family, known for their bootlegging operations during the Prohibition era. He was often tasked with negotiating deals with rival gangs, corrupt law enforcement officials, and business partners. Joey knew that feedback and reflection were crucial for improving his negotiation skills and achieving better results. Effective negotiation strategy 1. Reflecting on past negotiations. Joey regularly reflected on his past negotiation experiences, analyzing his successes and failures. He learned from his mistakes and used feedback from his allies and mentors to refine his approach. He kept a journal to track his progress and continuously looked for ways to improve. Effective negotiation strategy 2. Seeking feedback from others. Joey understood the value of feedback from others. He sought input from his fellow gang members, who were experienced negotiators themselves. He also sought feedback from his trusted allies outside of the crime family, who provided a different perspective on his negotiation style. Effective negotiation technique 1. Active listening. Joey realized that active listening was a key skill in negotiations. He made sure to listen attentively to the other party's needs and concerns, asking clarifying questions to fully understand their perspective. He refrained from interrupting and made sure the other party felt heard. Effective negotiation technique 2. Building rapport. Joey knew that building rapport was critical in negotiations. He used his charm and charisma to establish a connection with the other party. He found common ground and used it to establish trust and create a positive atmosphere for bargaining. As Joey's story unfolded, I developed complex characters with their own unique motivations and backstories. The setting was vividly described, transporting readers back in time to the gritty streets of Chicago during the Prohibition era. The dialogue was snappy and authentic, capturing the essence of the time period. Joey faced various challenges in his negotiations, including betrayal from within his own crime family and rivals who tried to undercut his deals. However, he used his feedback and reflection techniques to constantly adapt and improve his negotiation skills. Effective negotiation strategy 3. Flexibility. Joey learned to be flexible in his negotiations. He understood that rigid demands would not always yield favorable results. He was willing to adjust his approach and find creative solutions to meet the needs of both parties. Effective negotiation technique 3. Managing emotions. Joey realized that emotions could cloud judgment and derail negotiations. He learned to manage his emotions and keep a cool head, even in tense situations. He used his emotions to his advantage, using them strategically to influence the other party. Through his journey, Joey honed his negotiation skills and achieved better results in bargaining situations. He learned to anticipate the tactics of his opponents, read their motivations, and use his feedback and reflection techniques to outmaneuver them. Incorporating elements of romance, betrayal, and violence, the story took unexpected twists and turns. Joey faced personal challenges, including a forbidden romance with the daughter of a rival gang leader and betrayal from within his own family. However, he used his negotiation skills to navigate these challenges and ultimately achieve his goals. In the end, Joey's improved negotiation skills helped him rise in the ranks of the O'Connell crime family and become a formidable negotiator in the world of organized crime. He achieved better outcomes in bargaining situations. What are the key principles of negotiation, such as understanding interests, setting objectives, and managing relationships, as outlined in the book? Title: Shadows of Negotiation. The 1920s in New York City were a time of jazz, prohibition, and mobsters. My protagonist, Michael DeMarco, was a charismatic and cunning mobster who ran a successful bootlegging operation. He understood the importance of negotiation and had honed his skills through years of experience in dealing with rival gangs, law enforcement, and business partners. As Michael navigated the dangerous world of organized crime, he followed key principles of negotiation that he had learned from his mentor, Salvatore Sal Lombardi, a veteran mobster known for his strategic negotiation tactics. Principle 1. Understanding interests. Michael knew that understanding the interests of both parties was crucial in negotiations. He carefully assessed the motivations and priorities of his opponents, as well as his own, to identify common ground and potential areas of compromise. He always looked beyond the surface demands to uncover the underlying interests driving the negotiation. Principle 2. Setting objectives. Michael understood the importance of setting clear objectives before entering any negotiation. He defined his desired outcomes and established a clear plan to achieve them. He was strategic in his approach, setting realistic and achievable goals, and was always prepared with alternative options to leverage in case of impasse. Principle 3. Managing relationships. Michael recognized the significance of managing relationships in negotiations. He built a network of allies and had a reputation for keeping his word, which earned him trust and credibility among his peers. He was skilled at treating people, understanding their personalities, and tailoring his approach accordingly to build rapport and establish long-term relationships. Incorporating elements of romance, betrayal, and violence, the story took unexpected twists and turns. Michael faced personal challenges, including a forbidden romance with Maria, the daughter of a rival mobster, and betrayal from within his own ranks. However, he used his negotiation skills to navigate these challenges and stay ahead in the dangerous world of organized crime. As Michael's story unfolded, I developed complex characters with their own unique motivations and backstories. The setting was vividly described, transporting readers back in time to the gritty streets of New York City during the Prohibition era. The dialogue was snappy and authentic, capturing the essence of the time period. Michael faced various negotiation challenges, including dealing with rival gangs who wanted to encroach on his territory, corrupt law enforcement officials who demanded bribes, and business partners who tried to take advantage of his operation. However, he utilized the key principles of negotiation to overcome these obstacles. He carefully analyzed the interests of his opponents, set clear objectives for each negotiation, and built and maintained relationships with his allies. He was strategic in his approach, using his negotiation skills to outmaneuver his opponents and achieve favorable outcomes. However, not all negotiations went smoothly. Michael encountered setbacks and faced tough choices along the way. He had to make difficult decisions, including betraying a longtime ally to protect his operation and navigating the delicate balance between his personal interests and the interests of his crime family. Through it all, Michael continued to refine his negotiation skills, learning from his successes and failures, and using feedback and reflection to continuously improve. He adapted his approach based on the changing dynamics of the negotiation landscape and used his strategic thinking to stay one step ahead of his opponents. In the end, Michael's negotiation skills were crucial in helping him navigate the treacherous world of organized crime and achieve his goals. He secured his position as a respected and feared mobster, and his bootlegging operation flourished. However, he also paid a personal price for his choices, including the loss of relationships and the constant threat of violence. What are the key takeaways from the book Bargaining for Advantage? Negotiation Strategies for Reasonable People by G. Richard Shell. And how can they be applied in real-life negotiation situations? Title: The Art of the Deal. The 1920s in Chicago were ruled by mobsters, and Vinny Russo was no exception. He was a shrewd and ambitious mobster, known for his sharp wit and negotiation skills. Vinny had built a reputation for himself as someone not to be messed with, and he owed much of his success to the principles he had learned from the book Bargaining for Advantage. Negotiation Strategies for Reasonable People by G. Richard Shell. Vinny was facing a critical negotiation with a rival mob boss, Tony the Hammer Moretti. They were vying for control of the lucrative speakeasy business in the city, and tensions were running high. Vinny knew that this negotiation would require all of his negotiation skills to come out on top. Key takeaway 1. Preparation. Vinny had learned from the book that preparation was crucial in any negotiation. He spent hours researching Tony's interests, understanding his motivations, and analyzing his strengths and weaknesses. He also defined his own objectives clearly and formulated a plan to achieve them. Key takeaway 2. Building rapport. Vinny understood the importance of building rapport with his opponents. He knew that a positive relationship could lead to better outcomes in negotiation. He started the negotiation with a friendly tone, showing respect for Tony's position and finding common ground. Key takeaway 3. Strategic concessions. Vinny knew that concessions were a part of negotiation, but he also understood the importance of making strategic concessions. He was careful not to give away too much too soon, and he used his concessions strategically to gain leverage and keep the negotiation in his favor. Key takeaway 4. Managing emotions. Vinny was aware that emotions could often derail a negotiation. He remained calm and composed throughout the negotiation, even when faced with provocations from Tony. He focused on the issues at hand and avoided getting personal or letting emotions cloud his judgment. Key takeaway 5. BATNA. Vinny knew the concept of BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, from the book. He had a clear understanding of his own BATNA and used it as leverage in the negotiation. He was willing to walk away from the deal if it did not meet his objectives. As the negotiation progressed, Vinny skillfully applied these key takeaways from the book. He used his preparedness to anticipate Tony's moves and counter them effectively. He built rapport with Tony by finding common ground and acknowledging his position, which helped to establish a more cooperative tone in the negotiation. Vinny made strategic concessions, giving up non-essential items while holding firm on his main objectives. He managed his emotions, despite Tony's attempts to provoke him, and stayed focused on the issues at hand. He also used his BATNA as leverage, knowing he had other options if the negotiation did not go in his favor. After hours of intense negotiation, Vinny and Tony finally reached an agreement. It was a win-win situation for both parties, and Vinny had achieved his main objectives while maintaining a positive relationship with Tony. He walked away from the negotiation feeling satisfied with the outcome and knowing that his negotiation skills had played a crucial role in his success. In real-life negotiation situations, the key takeaways from the book Bargaining for Advantage can be applied to achieve favorable outcomes. Preparation, building rapport, making strategic concessions, managing emotions, and understanding BATNA can all contribute to successful negotiations. Just like Vinny, negotiators who apply these principles can navigate challenging situations and achieve their goals, even in the complex world of mobsters in the 1920s. Here's a summary of the key strategies from the book Bargaining for Advantage, Negotiation Strategies for Reasonable People by G. Richard Shell and table format. Strategy description. Preparation emphasizes the importance of thorough preparation, including researching the other party's interests, motivations, strengths, and weaknesses, as well as defining your own objectives and formulating a plan. Building rapport focuses on establishing a positive relationship with the other party by finding common ground, showing respect, and creating a cooperative tone in the negotiation. Strategic concessions involves making concessions strategically, avoiding giving away too much too soon, and using concessions as leverage to gain favorable outcomes. Managing emotions highlights the importance of remaining calm and composed, avoiding emotional reactions, and staying focused on the issues at hand to prevent emotions from derailing the negotiation. BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement, and emphasizes understanding your own BATNA and using it as leverage in the negotiation to have other options if the negotiation does not meet your objectives. These strategies can be applied in real-life negotiation situations to enhance negotiation skills and achieve favorable outcomes. By incorporating these principles, negotiators can navigate complex negotiations with confidence and increase their chances of success. Epilogue. Putting the strategies into practice. As the negotiation concluded, Mark felt a sense of satisfaction. He had applied the strategies he had learned from bargaining for advantage by G. Richard Shell and had achieved a favorable outcome. Mark had meticulously prepared for the negotiation, researching the other party's interests, motivations, and strengths. He had also defined his own objectives and developed a plan, which allowed him to enter the negotiation with a clear strategy in mind. During the negotiation, Mark focused on building rapport with the other party. He found common ground and established a cooperative tone, which helped to create a positive relationship and fostered open communication. Mark also managed his emotions effectively, staying calm and composed even when faced with challenging moments during the negotiation. He avoided emotional reactions and stayed focused on the issues at hand, preventing emotions from derailing the negotiation. One of the key strategies Mark used was strategic concessions. He made concessions strategically, being mindful not to give away too much too soon. He used concessions as leverage to gain favorable outcomes, knowing when and how to use them effectively. Another important factor in Mark's negotiation success was understanding his BATNA. He had a clear understanding of his best alternative to a negotiated agreement, which gave him the confidence to negotiate from a position of strength. He knew that he had other options if the negotiation did not meet his objectives, which allowed him to negotiate with confidence and assertiveness. In the end, Mark achieved his desired outcome, striking a mutually beneficial agreement with the other party. He felt accomplished and grateful for the negotiation strategies he had learned from bargaining for advantage. The book had provided him with valuable insights and practical techniques that he could apply in real-life negotiation situations, and the results spoke for themselves. As Mark closed the book and reflected on his negotiation experience, he realized that negotiation was not just about tactics and techniques, but also about understanding human dynamics and managing relationships. He had learned that by being reasonable, well-prepared, and strategic in his approach, he could achieve advantageous outcomes in bargaining situations. Mark was grateful for the knowledge he had gained from bargaining for advantage and looked forward to applying these strategies in future negotiations, knowing that he had developed a valuable skill set that would serve him well in various aspects of his personal and professional life. Answer key 1. The key principles and concepts introduced in the book include effective negotiation preparation, understanding interests and motivations, communication and persuasion techniques, conflict management, relationship building, and continuous learning and practice. 2. The book emphasizes effective negotiation preparation, including researching the other party, understanding their interests and motivations, setting goals and targets, and developing a negotiation plan. 3. The book discusses different negotiation styles, such as competitive, collaborative, compromising, accommodating, and avoiding, and helps readers understand which style may align best with their personality and negotiation goals. 4. The book provides guidance on how to identify and leverage the interests and motivations of the other party, through effective communication, active listening, and asking open-ended questions to uncover their underlying needs and desires. 5. The book highlights common mistakes and pitfalls to avoid during negotiations, such as making assumptions, failing to listen actively, neglecting preparation, conceding too quickly, and lacking flexibility. 6. The book offers various communication and persuasion techniques, including framing, reframing, questioning techniques, active listening, and negotiation language, to help readers effectively convey their messages and influence the other party. 7. The book provides strategies for managing conflicts and resolving deadlocks in negotiations, such as finding common ground, exploring alternatives, and using objective criteria for decision-making. 8. The book emphasizes the importance of building rapport, trust, and long-term relationships with the other party, through open and honest communication, integrity, and mutual respect. 9. The book outlines techniques for closing the deal and finalizing agreements, such as summarizing key points, making concessions strategically, and getting commitment from the other party. 10. The book provides guidance on staying composed and managing emotions under pressure during negotiations, including techniques for calming oneself, managing stress, and maintaining a professional demeanor. 11. The book emphasizes continuous learning and practice as essential for improving negotiation skills over time, through self-reflection, debriefing after negotiations, and seeking feedback from others. 12. The book encourages readers to adapt the negotiation strategies and techniques to different negotiation scenarios and contexts, considering factors such as the nature of the negotiation, the culture, and the personalities involved. 13. The book discusses ethical considerations in negotiation, such as fairness, honesty, transparency, and respect for others, and provides guidelines for ethical negotiation practices that readers can apply in their negotiations.